Gaming and BS, episode 267, being recorded Monday, post Gamehole Con, November 4th, 2019. Welcome to Gaming and BS Tabletop RPG Podcast. I am always the big Kelbowski.
And I am Brett, the guy who doesn't dress up for Halloween, disappoints everybody. Nice to have you all here. I see you did. Yes. Now, if it makes you feel any better, Sean, after you found another gamer who was dressed up as Walter,
I did.
I did. I felt guilty. So yes,
Randy Price.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's a well-known guy, I guess. I did not know Randy until Gamehole Con. I think somebody might have
proved to you that he's more game than I am.
Well, I think somebody pointed him out prior to Gamehole Con and mentioned him by name, and then it was, of course, put on the back burner. And then when I actually ran into him, very nice guy. Actually had a conversation with him after the fact, like a couple days later at the con. And yeah, super nice guy. I think he's down in the Kentucky area and has his own game company. And so some of the folks that know Randy will probably be like, duh, yeah, I know Randy. He's cool.
Well, I'll tell you, man, speaking of Gamehole Con, we would be we're not going to be able to name all the names.
My God.
But holy shit, the BSers who turned out, some amazing people, all sorts of states, places, flew in, drove in, locals, people that made it. Jeff showed up. Jeff showed up to drop some Shanbo.
Jeff showed up.
That was awesome.
Is there anybody else here? How many companions do you have? Where are they at? What's going on? Answer me! How's that?
Yeah, Jeff was there. He stopped
and after meeting Jeff in person, that's Jeff, man. That's 100% him. And I want a game and a table with Jeff. Yeah. But we had awesome gamers running games under our banner. We had people, BSers who ran games, as I said. They just stopped by and said hi and totally just shot the shit with us for a while. We had super cool people just saying, hey, long time listener, or first time at Gamehole Con, this is really cool. Had a few of those. I had BSer stop by and buy my book. People who actually had the PDF and didn't get a hard copy because I figured you'd have one here. I'm like, wow, thank you very much. We even had some people do some incredibly nice things for us. Jerry Garcia, one of our listeners, made some Sean and I a pink board, if anybody knows what that is from in the housing insulation space. A train, 1-inch squares, some underground looking trains, some badass stuff. I've already got I think I got a use for that in my next D&D campaign. That's really cool. And Laramie Wall gifted us with a bottle of fine consumables. That was very nice. Excuse me. And honestly, the coolest part, as always, is the community. I think the men and women that are friends of ours through the show that we've met and we've got to game with and run games for us and game with us, y'all are awesome. It's just it's very humbling every time we go out. Yeah, thank you. That's for all y'all, because that's amazing. I had on a personal note, I had a tremendous amount of support for my Avalon setting. VC Young was helping pimp my book when I had to go run a game. He was at the booth. Somebody stopped by. I think they thought he was me. And they came back and bought a book. It was great. But yeah, it was really, really cool. I had Darcy Ross stop by and bought a book for me. I almost fell over. That was crazy. And met some really, really kick-ass people just across the gaming sphere. So, man, just hell of a good time. Anybody particular you want to shout out there, Sean?
Oh, no. There's plenty of...
Yeah, we can't name them all.
Can't name them all, no. I did meet Ken Height for the first time.
Ken's a good dude.
And Will Hindmarch, and I know Will from a distance, so it was good to meet him face-to-face. And Ken was... as humble as I've ever seen and heard. And for any of you that have met Ken, that is sheer sarcasm.
Ken's got an opinion. He's not afraid to share it.
He is not humble.
No, he knows what he does.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, it was fun
guy.
talking to him for just a few minutes.
But,
that was, amongst others, but Ken, big fan. Says he'd be willing to be on the show. I told him I maybe call him.
Yeah, so. Maybe. We're like, hey. Schedule's pretty full. We got some popular people coming.
I don't know. I don't know where he'd fit in.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So yeah, you and I have talked about that before. People are like, oh, you should have so and so. Oh, I want to be in a show. The number of people that will come up to us at the booth and say, you should have me on your show. I'll tell you right now, that's usually a turnoff. Like, really, I should I? Who are you and what is it that you do? You've never heard our show. You don't know what we're doing or our format, clearly, because the way you're talking to us right now. But all things considered, a lot of people within the gaming space, I totally get it, especially small press people, and people are doing really cool things. It's very difficult sometimes to get the word out. And to that point, I want to call this out. Sean, as always, the smarter, more savvy dude than Brett when it comes to some of this businessy crap. He's like, so you're going to get like an Avalon website, man? You're going to do some stuff? You're going to get like a streetsofavalon.com or something, man? What are you going to do there? And I'm like, yeah, that's a damn good idea. I just literally have no idea how to do said thing. So I think I'm going to rope Sean here into helping me out. Talked to Phil Vecchio and Sean. I slacked him, and he and I were chatting back and forth. He's like, that sounds like a damn fine idea if you guys are willing to do that. So they're all encoded in support. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we've got my Master Archivist collection. The print on demand will be out and available. I know people who back the Kickstarter at the right level will get their coupons for the print on demand, soft cover only at this point. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting one of those in my hot little hands. So that'll be nice. So at EverCon, I should have hard copies of my core setting book and then some hard copies of the Archivist collection, the stretch goal stuff. So that'll be neat. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to twist Sean's arm a little bit. If you're still willing to, that is, Sean. And we'll get that going. I think that'd be cool.
I think we can do something.
Cool. And the other shameless promotion stuff is evercon.org. We've got some BSers running games there. Corey Wynn, of course, that guy's a nut. He always comes up and goes, hey, Brett, I got some stuff for your auction, because we always have a charity auction, a silent charity auction. So every year he gives me something to put in the auction, which always helps to drive up the revenue that they make for charity. And he's going to be running some good stuff. Excuse me, as well as other people that I've already mentioned on previous episodes. So more and more people. Kev said he's going to show up. A lot of good people. Great. I mean, if they're BSers, obviously they're good people. So I would love to have more and more of us there running games, because I know everybody here who's part of our clan, we all know how to run games, be nice to people, get evangelize your game, get people in it, get people interested, first-time gamers, first time to your system. I think it'd be a great opportunity to do that. So, you know who I might actually, Rob and Julie may come in.
They'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob came up to me and goes, hey, man, I need to be a special guest at your fucking show.
A special guest?
I'm like, Rob, what do you need to be a special guest for?
He's special.
RPG. He said, that's what I said. I said, well, you are special. He said, your RPG room was a little loud. I want to get a private room. I said, I already fixed it for you. He said, you did? I said, yeah, we moved it. The LARPer's going to be on the other end. We're going to put the RPGs in a more quiet section. Oh, then I'm coming. I'm coming for sure. I love Rob. He's a hoot. Anyway, enough about that, man. Shall we move on to actually do the show type show? Let's do it.
Yeah, it's Random Encounter. Random Encounter.
We're groggy, aren't we, Sean?
I got a little raspy voice. Still kind of raspy.
Mine wasn't too bad. I had a pretty mellow day at work.
Yeah. I overextended myself as always.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about I read the first one for you? I seem to have a little bit more energy than you. All right. So Random Encounter. Trevor Davis wrote in about, now hold it right there. BNS. Most mornings I work out in my game room that doubles as my home gym. Usually I don't listen to anything while lifting because my thoughts are crowded and confused enough without clutter from the outside world. This morning, though, I decided to listen to y'all's episode, Now Hold It Right There. It was really a mistake because you had me laughing out loud while trying to do deadlifts. Great episode all around. Thanks for what you guys do. I'm assuming that's not good to do deadlifts to us. Don't do that. I would say that's a bad idea.
I wouldn't know. I stay away from heavy objects, especially if you have to do it over and over and over again.
Oh, that just seems repetitively redundant. Why would I keep lifting the same thing? I lifted it once.
And deadlift sounds not so good.
Yeah, it sounds painful.
It has kind of a negative connotation.
It does. Well, he says his 12-year-old daughter, Judah, walked in and listened to the whole thing with him. She wasn't interested in deadlifts, but she was very interested in what you had to say. We paused it several times to talk through the ideas you were bringing up. Judah mostly agreed with what was being said, but also thought there should be some distinction between selfish, rude behavior and imaginative creative play. You can do anything if you get the right game, gaming group, and GM. We went on to discuss that the limitations are really the responsibilities each of us has to the other players at the table and the expectations each of us bring to the table. Players don't always get to choose the limits of the game, especially in one shot like Kojo's. It's important for them to be able to curb their expectations. Our little discussion shifted to the night our teen D&D group went insane. Everyone played selfishly and foolishly, and by the end, the characters were all either dead, tarred and feathered, or on the run. It was awful for them and for me. The parents hang out in the living room on these evenings, drinking and chatting together, so I poured myself a Manhattan and went to talk with the adults. After explaining the craziness of the evening, I asked if they minded me being direct with their kids next time. Everybody was all for it. The next teen game night started with, "Ladies and gentlemen, you are not special. You are not beautiful or a unique snowflake." Oh, slap. He continues, "I asked Jude if she thought that my pep talk fixed the problem. No, but it's better. We're learning, and some are just slower than others." To answer DM Kojo's question about whether this is a rising problem, I don't think so. Instead, teens are just people with very little experience who are learning how to get along in the complex world of human interaction and emotion. When they make it to our table, it's on us more mature gamers to model decency and thoughtfulness while also encouraging creativity within limits. They won't have it all figured out anytime soon. We'll have to be patient, but also willing to teach and correct. Shoot, I still need to be taught and corrected sometimes. Maybe I'll eventually get there. Keep on the awesome podcasting, Trevor. Well, Trevor, I can tell you, Kojo, being a teacher, is he's pretty savvy and a good dude all around. But I love your thoughts, man. I think I have to say, Trevor, I am duly impressed that your 12-year-old daughter, Judah, you and she had this discussion and you guys went back and forth on. That's pretty freaking cool, man. It's kind of a grown-up type of thing to talk to the kids about. So that's impressive. Good job, man. That's really neat.
Probably got an introduction to an F-bomb or two, probably.
Oh, I don't know where. Probably. Yeah, Sean tends a little blue every once in a while. Sean likes to work blue.
I like to work blue. Yeah, it's all me.
Yeah, mostly you.
I try. It's that.
Any thoughts on that one, Sean?
No, I'm impressed that there's hope. There's
hope
with kids like Judah. There's hope for the future. That's all I gotta say.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got next, man?
Kojo, I think he calls in to clarify some things.
Oh, very
that
cool.
We might have had questions on.
I'm pretty sure we screwed something up.
Brett and Sean, hey, it's Kojo. Hey, wanted to thank you guys for taking my previous voicemail about my son's birthday game and create an episode around it. He got a kick out of it, hearing you guys give advice about our specific situation. Just wanted to add a few more details because I know there's some questions that came up during the episode that I just wanted to follow up. First off, we are playing Old School Essentials, which is Gavin Norman's re-edited version of BX D&D. So it was older school flavor, although we were using the advanced edition rules, optional rules that he had created as part of his recent Kickstarter. So kids were basically, choosing a race and a class combination. I let them pick what they wanted to be ahead of time, but I made the pre-gens based on their requests that they had funneled through my son. And again, it was his birthday party. It was his idea to do Old School Essentials, not mine. He's very interested in older forms of the game. He even wanted to do Descending Armor class instead of the optional Ascending Armor class route. And so, that was cool. But again, some of the kids thought that was dumb. And so, but then again, a lot of adults say that about Descending Armor class too. So, and then also wanted to follow up and say, it was a couple, 2 or 3 kids that really were the main focus of the issues. And most of the kids were trying to play, in a way that was cooperative and move the story along. One kid just kept wanting to leave the party, no matter what I tried to do or discourage him through the various threats that he kept running into and barely survived. And yet he kept wanting to leave the party. And then when his character died, he's the one who wanted to basically reboot things and start over his character and I won't do it again. I won't leave the party again. And I said, no, sorry, at this point, it's too late. Another kid kept wanting to put on his ring of invisibility and sneak away from the party and do his own thing. And the end result is, we didn't even get halfway through the story that I had crafted, which is fine. I don't want to put him on a railroad, but at the same time, I was, hoping we get further into the story. And there was a lot of other kids sitting around as I had to manage these 2 or 3 kids who were fairly disruptive with their game choices plus we were playing in a gaming store, and there was lots of other distractions. They were off wandering away, looking at magic cards when it was their turn, and all kinds of other shenanigans. So all in all, though, my son still had a good time. He thinks next time he won't invite these handful of boys that didn't seem into it. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, thanks again. Take it easy. Bye.
Coach. Yeah, Coach, I got to say that actually, my son has last time for his last birthday party when I ran D&D, I said, "Hey, where's so and so?" He goes, "Yeah, he's I don't think he likes gaming as much as I do." Which was AJ being very politely saying, "Yeah, that kid's trouble. He's not going to focus." So that's a good move. Yeah, interesting. I think because it was your son's birthday game, I think it's one of those things where, did the birthday boy have a good time? Yes, that's awesome. It's a shame that other people are being difficult, as you described there, but cool. I'm glad that you and your son got a kick of what we did, and it sounds like we didn't say anything too horribly stupid, so that's good. Sean, we got anything else? We're ready to move on, man.
No, that's it. Thanks for calling in, Kojo, and clearing that up. Let's get on to the main topic. All right, Brett.
I got a twofer, man. You ready?
It is a twofer. I'm ready.
So a couple different things I wanted to talk about. Last time we got derailed, I want to talk about Ray Otus's topic about book size and format. And I figured it would go well with some of the shopping we did and just looking around at a gaming convention, kind of what's out there. But I also want to talk about kind of a blow-by-blow of what you do with the con. It's not our shtick, really. I mean, we've tried that before. It kind of bores the shit out of people. But I thought, Sean, what if we could talk about, like, of the sessions we ran or we played in, well, let's talk about the stuff we ran. Let's just talk about what we ran here. Did you have a best versus a worst? Did you have one game that you're like, man, that one just did not work as well for me? Because I did. I ran 3 and I did have one.
You did? Okay.
I did.
So we should probably start, if we're going to talk about this, and put a disclaimer that it's not the group, it's not the players.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
nope.
I know. But there's going to be some people that are listening and like, I was in that game and, I feel so bad.
No, very good. And this is all about learning. And this is so thank you, Sean. It's a good disclaimer. This is not, what I'm talking worst is probably, I didn't have a better term for it here, but it's kind of like what one, you can learn from the stuff that works and you can learn from the stuff like, man, I had expectations. Sean maybe had an expectation at the table that something just didn't go quite right. I've had games where I walk away and I go, damn, that sucked, man. I don't feel like it did very well. I look at the players like, oh, that was awesome. They're all like revved up. And I'm like, man, how the hell did you? Okay, cool. You had fun. Must have done something right. So I'm trying to figure out, I guess. So Sean, let's do this. Did you have a game that you ran that was just like, it hit all the right strides for you and the players and you felt as fulfilled as they did?
I had one that was better than the others.
Okay, which was that?
Probably. Well, there were 2 that were similar. I would say, because they're different. So I think, they were all different. I had different experiences this past convention.
Well, you know what? Let me do this. So Sean ran 3 different types of games, 3 different rule systems.
Oh, completely. All 3 were completely different.
And I ran same, insofar as they're all D&D 5e in the Avalon setting. So I'll tell you what, Sean, let me go first. Because I think this
Brett,
might
just don't forget about me over here.
I won't. I promise. So the 2 that went, like, I hit all the right buttons for me and my players. The Thursday and Friday one went really well. Everyone had a good time. They were very investigative focused. They really kind of brought the Avalon brand, as they say, right? Had all the right pieces and parts. There were people hacking up fish eggs. There was crazy bug crawling madness and weird magic. I actually got great pointers from my players. Jen Brinkman was in one of the games, and some of the other folks that Jim threw good stuff at me. Anyway, I got really good. Like, hey, that was fun. You know what would make it even better is blah blah blah. Really, very very helpful. And I think one of the things I learned from those is that the pre-gens I had worked really really well. They fit the investigative vibe and the whole looking into stuff, building as I do when I run these games at con, build a neighborhood with a crew. Give me a name of a blacksmith. What's the name of the local tavern? Who runs a tavern? What attitude do they have? Sourcing the table like that, I am finding works really, really well, and the players love it. Even some of the players who may be more shy, like, oh God, I'm terrible at this. I said, that's okay. Anybody else have an idea, And just getting the people at the table to do that, I think is really helpful. And it kind of breaks the ice. Everybody's got some investment in it. And I like that. I think it's a really good way to go. And then it's something that I think I can use, and I do more of even now in my home game, where I source the table for stuff. Where I need the name of a university. I need the name of, what's the name of the professor who taught you that? Oh, it's Hodgkins. Yes, Hodgkins is the guy. Okay. So I started doing even more of that. The quote unquote worst game was my Saturday one. And that was because that was a monster hunt game. And I do monster hunting within the Avalon setting. But I did not have enough investigation in it. It was, I felt, far too straightforward. The players did a great job. They grabbed it, they found it, they went right after the critter, figured it out. There were a couple turns and twists, but I just didn't have any kind of pow, right there. Hey man, it really, really shocked them like the other two sessions. And it took me part of the day to like, what the hell, what didn't I like? And it was too simple. I think I had like a 1 to 4, 1 to 5 time slot, and they just blew right through it. I'm like, man, I don't have enough meat here. It's too simple. This is part of a thing. I need to add more to it. And I think if it was just a 3-hour game or a 2-hour game, I think it would have been fine. But a pure monster hunt without enough, not even red herrings, but I found we built the neighborhood, we got some cool stuff together, but there were no hiccups, right? There was, we took a wrong turn. Oh, this was unexpected. Crap, here we are. Everything unfolded pretty much as everyone expected. And sometimes that's fun, but I wanted to have more kind of, I don't know, just more stuff, more options, and let them think and look around. And I kind of lost the investigative approach that I really like to do, and that the Avalon setting does really well. And I just went kind of pure monster hunt. And I'm like, this may have worked for younger, less experienced gamers, may have gotten, more of a charge out of it. But I think I could have done better by my players by adding some more stuff to it. Ramp up the bad guy. The monster hunting is under control of, Lady So-and-so or Captain thus and such. Could have added some complication to it so that when they win, they realize, there's something else. Who's behind the shadow? Look behind the curtain and see what's there. I didn't have any of that. And I think if I would have added that to it, would have made it a better game. So that's how it was fun. Everyone had a good time. But I should have added some more oomph to it, a little more punch. And I think that's how I could have done it. Add more clues, hinting at a complication, and then a big reveal, and then deal with a real bad guy type of thing. Would have been a little more entertaining for everybody, I think. Mm-hmm. So, Sean, you ran 3 different types of games.
I did.
You had a LARP, you had a Cthulhu, and what else did you have? Oh, D&D, 5e.
Yes, I did.
Tomb of Horrors. So, I'll tell you what, let's break them down. Let's start with the Tomb of Horrors. How did that go?
Tomb of Horrors went all right. It's
using 5e?
Yeah, I used 5e and realized that 5e is it's like a playground. It's like a ball pen. It's like a jumpy. It's like a jumpy house. Like
you just didn't for a trap heavy game where unless you do massive damage, no one dies, right? There's no fighting in that module, really.
No, there isn't. And I killed 3 characters, so I laid them out. First level, second level, third level. Put them out on the table. Nobody batted an eye.
No one checked levels.
Like I would have been like, okay.
This is Tomb of Horrors, right? You dick. How come these are only first, second, third level characters?
I had a sorcerer with like a 5 charisma.
Okay.
On the table. That was the last one to get picked because my buddy Brandon inherited that one.
Nice.
But as they got killed, I would give them 11th level characters.
Okay.
And I gave them some Cure Light Wounds potions to begin with.
Okay.
Maybe help things along. But it was, it wasn't that, they got to the what they think is the end. Some of them that have played it before know the deal.
But it felt kind of cakewalk for you. Is that what you're saying?
It was. But there were some parts where they were really struggling to find out where to go. Like what to do, right? Like they're like, we go here, it's a dead end.
Well, the original Tomb of Horrors, even 3rd edition or 2nd when I've run it for those, the fear of death is real. It sounds like, especially 1st edition, like, holy fuck, I'm going to die. If I open that door, we could all die. Because somebody's opened a door, falls down a huge trap or whatever and disappears or gets their hand chopped off or teleports somewhere or something. But it sounds like they didn't have the fear. They had the interest in like, oh, what's this? Kind of like a puzzle box, but it wasn't really terrifying.
No, I think they genuinely didn't want to die.
Well, who does really?
But I think there is a premise that's like, that's what's going to happen. So
you let them down by not killing enough of them.
It's not like it's a Brett game where you're kind of like, okay, it's a new game. It's Avalon. I want to have the experience of playing with Brett running Avalon. And I pick a character and I'll run with it and it's fine. Like if I die, I don't want to die necessarily, but it is a con game where I think with Tomb of Horrors, they're all kind of laughing inside saying, oh, I wonder what's going to get me. What's going to be the crushing blow?
Yep.
How are we going to get to, whatever, to the end? Are we going to get to the end?
Do you think if you'd have picked a different mechanic, a different system, you'd had a better, or you'd have felt more fulfilled?
Maybe. I mean, if I ran 1st edition, maybe it might have been a completely different game. I'm sure it'd be a different game.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, the whole thing about running that particular module was I was going to do it as a set piece, and that didn't happen. And as a matter of fact, Jesse Robinson, friend of the show, he did Inspiration Woodcut, and he's done our coasters, the woodcut die coasters. And Jesse has a laser, in his house because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And then he has like 3 3D printers. So he said, you should have just let me know. We could have cranked them out. Well, hindsight 2020, but I don't know if I would run it again, even if I had the 3D, 2D-ish, terrain to do it. So I think the novelty around it would have been, had I had the 2 3D map of the dungeon laid out, then
that's kind of what you wanted at the beginning.
It was,
and it didn't happen. So you're kind of like, meh.
Yeah. So I used gaming paper and I put it out there, and it was fine. And I even used some of the handouts from 1st edition. It was okay. Like, it wasn't bad. I don't think anybody had a terrible time. It's a long game.
That was a 6-hour one, wasn't it?
6-hour game, yeah.
Would you do that again, do you think?
I don't know if I would do a 6-hour game. It depends on what I'd be running.
I'm just saying, would you run Tomb of Horrors again, do you think?
I don't think. I threw all my maps away.
Okay.
I just took everything I had and I have all the pre-gens that I printed up still printed in a folder, but I took the maps that I had, rolled them up, put it in a box, and the box that I brought them with, and they didn't roll up right, and they got kinked on the end. So I came home and I'm like, am I going to run this again?
Nope.
I'm going to throw it away. Boom.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of it.
So what you did a poker game.
And I should say the Tomb of Horrors, I should say, final, and wrap that up. The Tomb of Horrors game isn't probably the type of game I like to run, honestly.
Oh, okay. So
we'll get to that.
No, that actually ties a little bit to my Monster Hunt, because I felt less fulfilled about that because it didn't have some of the extra complexity, which is what I like.
Yeah.
I, as a game master, like the extra complexity and throwing that stuff out there. If I don't have it, then I feel unfulfilled for myself. So if that's a style of game you're not having a good time with, okay, that's interesting. Good.
There'll be, I think, a trend for people that play in my games.
That you do things you don't like?
No.
I'm teasing.
No. I think that even after this show, you'll probably realize, that's kind of the type of game Sean wants to present. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to the poker game.
Yeah.
So what was that game?
So The Deal by Todd Crapper and Broken Ruler Games. It's a 4-person LARP. You come in, every character, let me rephrase that. Every player knows all the characters. So
okay,
as you're standing there, everybody knows who's going to be who.
Gotcha.
But when the game starts, there's only one character that knows the rest of the characters.
Okay.
Right. That's the blackmailer.
Okay.
Right. So everybody's been invited to play a poker game and they don't know who invited them. And there's 4 scenes, and each scene has 4 plot twists and turns.
Okay.
That kind of get thrown out, whether it's thrown out intentionally to each specific person or randomly. Usually it's randomly. I try to hit every person, like kind of spread them around. As the 5th player, there isn't a 5th player. So I kind of acted as the referee, as the silent Bob dealer type.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went through, Todd has a very good presentation within the game that says, read this aloud to all the players. And it talks about safety, because this game is for not nice people.
Characters are not nice people.
The characters are not nice people.
It's kind of almost like forget about it in a way, right?
It should even be worse than forget about it. It should be forget about it turned up to 11.
Oh, okay. So this is like a Tarantino movie.
It should be a Tarantino movie.
Okay.
Like The Hateful Eight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It should be The Hateful Eight, the poker game.
Ooh. All
yes.
Right.
I actually said at the beginning of the game that I anticipated an actual person at the table throwing their cards at me, like Joe Pesci did in Casino.
Got
Remember
it.
that?
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen the movie Casino, and Joe Pesci gets kicked out of a casino because he's doing too many bad things around town and he's bringing too much heat on to De Niro's character's casino. He tells him not to come around, but he ends up getting drunk, and he walks in the casino one night and he's playing blackjack, and he's getting ticked off at the dealer.
He throws the cards at him.
Throws the cards at him and tells him he's going to shove it up his...
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's what I anticipated. What I got was very nice Midwestern rudeness.
So now you have not, now because it's very LARPy.
It is a LARP. Like you gotta, you're touching the table and you're sitting in the chair, you should be in character.
Were the players LARP familiar with that type of, or was it kind of newish ground for everybody? Do you know?
There was a couple. Now looking back, I can say I know what I would do completely different.
Do you want to run it again?
I want to run it all the time. Like I want to run it at every con because it's easy. There's no prep. You just sit down.
I think between that and what you've told me about forget about it, I'm like, dude, that's like sit down and go.
Yes. What I would do in the future would be pull each person aside and ask them if they're a nice person. And when they say yes, I say, you can't be in this game. You cannot be a nice person in this game.
Yeah, you have to be.
You have to picture somebody that is a royal asshole, whether they're fictional or non-fictional. You have to embrace that, and then you have to turn it up even higher.
Would it help you if you had images of men and women from key movies that like personify that character, right? Like you had Joe Pesci.
Maybe.
I'm just wondering, I need you to be like this.
Right. Maybe.
Just a thought.
So there's that, and then they also have to know poker. So I have to put down like basic understandings of poker. Like if you come in and you don't know poker at all, you just shouldn't be playing.
Oh, yeah, I'm bad at that.
And that's okay if you're not like a poker shark.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I can write out cheat sheets, right? You can write out cheat sheets for hands and what beats what hands. But you kind of have to understand, like, okay, a dealer, everybody antes up. You deal the cards. You play probably 5-card draw. You pick, 3 to 4 cards or 1 to 4 cards you want to throw in.
Yep.
Pick your hand. But, so I think that's, and it has to be very clear not to break character. Like, even if you have a question about the poker game, don't break character. Even if you don't know, they're all supposed to be pretty decent poker players. But I find what I was realizing that there was a lot of breaking of character that was very whimsical.
Oh, okay. That's not the tone you're looking for
Like
at
the
all.
rules are there. See, with the things with like other games, right? D&D, any game, any tabletop RPG, there are going to be folks that know those games really well and they've played them and they've run them.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get the ones that have never played and show up. But you have a character sheet, and usually there's a, roll this die for this result.
Mm-hmm.
In a LARP, it's just acting. The rules are not to hurt anybody physically. There's rules of, hey, I'm going to insult your character's mother. Brett might get overly offensive. So there's the rule of thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, you're playing. So the person can go thumbs up, am I okay? And Brett can go thumbs down. And then the person can stop insulting Brett's mother.
Got it.
Right. So there's those rules. But if there's questions about something, there shouldn't be any questions about anything in the meta part of it.
So question for you. Let me think about this.
And if there is, then that's on me, right?
Yeah, Gamehole Con has a section of a convention that's like for, adult themes.
Sure.
Gaming. Would this game be better fitted in that type of setting where the people like say, hey, adults only type of it
definitely. I mean, it is not. I don't post it for anybody but adults.
Yeah. Oh, never mind.
It was in a room that was fairly, it was fine. I think Josh tipped over a couple chairs and everybody looked over. But it was briefly, what are they doing over there? It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Hey, mind your own business, right?
Yeah. What are you looking at?
Yeah, what are you looking at? They're not in the room, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I think and much of how the game went. So I had people that had no experience LARPing, and then I had people that have LARPed. I had people that signed up for the game specifically because it was not for good people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's, I had one woman in the game. She's like, "That's why I signed up, because I'm known not to be nice." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, good. Then you're gonna fit right in."
Had a hard time though.
She had to turn it up. They all had to turn it up. But
it might be interesting to do a play break and say, okay, I'm gonna take a break for a second.
Right.
Take it to 11.
Yeah.
Right now, you guys
I
are
brought
at 8.
it up. It was an hour and a half, 2 hours in. I'm like, y'all being too nice. Y'all Midwestern. You need to throw that out the window.
Yeah, y'all at an 8. Take it to 13, people.
I was kind of like a 6. But it's hard. It's a hard game because you're playing with you're genuinely playing with strangers, and of course, here's the thing: if these people are naturally like that, we wouldn't want them at the con.
No, if you, Joe Swick, Jim Fitzpatrick, and I sat down to play this, you'd be like, oh yeah, your mother's a whore.
We know each other.
I know you guys. Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah.
Hey, if Jen Brinkman was there or Eileen was there, I'd be like, yeah, well, you're the one who blah, blah, blah. You stole my car. You did that. Right. We could go back and forth and we know each other.
Right.
But when you're like talking total strangers, it's hard to go, well, yeah, your dad's a drunk. That's very triggerable. It sounds like, though, this is a game you've got to run a few times. You're going to pick up more tips and tricks as you go. And you're going to have that one group that, pow, hits it.
Oh, I told Rob about it.
Yeah?
He's like, I'll be in that game. I'm like, oh, I know you will. So Rob is a guy that you guys, if you've seen him walking around the con, I don't think he listens to our show, but he looks like Jesse Ventura. He's like 6'5" and bald, and he's got a straggly goatee, and
he's a big dude.
A raspy, loud voice.
Yeah, he stands next to me. I look average size.
And he goes to the cons like Gary Con at Gamehole Con with his lovely wife Julie, who is a little more calmer than Rob,
which is good.
Or as I refer to him as Rib, because that's how his. Anyways, so it's not, live and learn. It's not a knock on the players or anything. It's just I didn't know. And I was talking to Darcy Ross about this, and she said she had gone to a LARP where they had literally a 2-hour workshop, and then you played the LARP.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of intense. I wouldn't expect to do that for this one.
Yeah, but you're learning a lot about how to facilitate this particular game.
Yes.
You want to run it more often. The more you run it, the better at it you're going to get. You're going to have a couple false starts or almost theirs. but you'll get it. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think next time I'm contemplating whether I want to be the dealer or if I'm going to actually play and be a player with 3 others.
You should come to EverCon and run it there.
Oh, it's going to be on. If I come, it's going to be on the schedule. And I don't know how long. And so it's very time. The time ebb and flows. There's a mechanic where you can have a jug with lines of lines on the jug.
Yeah.
And if you feel as though the scene's going well, you just pour water into the jug. And if you hit the line, then the scene should come to an end. At the same time, if you think the scene is doing really well, you take water out of the jug so it can go longer.
Got it.
But each character has something that they need to achieve in order to end the scene, kind of.
Got it.
And the first guy that I had that was going to end the scene, Greg, he didn't know what it was to end the scene. Like, he had it on his card, but he didn't know what it meant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the scene ends when this player chooses to raise the stakes.
Oh, yeah.
If he didn't know what raise the stakes was.
Yeah, so and if there's a confusion between the poker raising the stakes versus the interaction raising the stakes, right?
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I, looking back, there is and each one has a different prop, by the way. So here's my prep: a deck of cards.
Yeah.
The rules. A box, an envelope, a gun, and a phone.
That's pretty good.
That's it.
It goes in a backpack.
Poker
man.
chips.
That's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy.
And Jared Rasher, thank you so much for bringing poker chips. Because without him, I mean, it would have been a pretty stupid game.
Pretty lame.
Pretty lame. Like, they throw chips into the table.
Yeah, pretend you're flipping chips.
But it was a great experience for me because it was definitely something that was outside my wheelhouse, and things that came up were just things I would have never thought about until it actually happened.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. So thank you, players, for playing in that and bringing them to my attention, for sure. It wasn't anything bad. And frankly, hey, when you don't want to do real bad stuff to other people, sometimes it goes against our own selves.
Makeup.
Yeah.
So the other one you ran was Gatsby. You helped run, I should say, Gatsby in the Great Race. So a number of different people, Corey and you and Forrest Gary and other. How did that one go? Everyone I talked to after that was super thrilled, had a great time. That was your first time helping to run that multi-table time hopping craziness. How'd you like it?
I liked it, and what I thought would happen, or at least I hoped it would happen, which is I'm crapping my pants, and typically running a table like the LARP and the 6-game Tomb Horrors, not a big deal. When you're doing it with 30 people and 5 tables.
Well, this is co-GM time, man. This is
You want to make sure your shit's kind of together.
Yeah, because you're at a point where if I fuck this up, it's not like. So Sean and I were talking about what we'd like to do next year, and he and I perhaps do some kind of an event together, kind of either co-GM or however we figure this out. But if you and I go, fuck, that didn't work, we can, hey, Sean, blah, blah, blah. It's just 2 guys. If you screw this up, you could disappoint or throw 5 other game masters under the bus if you do something wrong.
In this game, it's imperative that there are certain things that actually occur.
Yes.
Like, you have to establish them. You have to remember them. And then you bank on those. And then it gets wacky. And they told me people aren't going to know what's going on. Therefore, you don't need to know what's going on. Therefore, it'll be just fine.
You can say that all day long, but until it happens, you don't know that for sure.
But once I got in the groove, which is another thing I would figure, as soon as I get into the groove and start getting into getting people to kind of open up a little bit, they'll riff off of each other. Mm-hmm. They'll start wondering what's going on. Then it'll be just fine. And it did. It was good. It was good. It was I liked it. It was fun. I'll run it again for Corey, especially now that I got my own shtick down. Because I can run it the same every single time.
There is something really cool about getting a good con game down. Like, forget about it. A couple of the Avalon adventures I've done, even a Call of Cthulhu adventure I've done a few times, a Trail of Cthulhu, I should say. It's repeatable. You know it like the back of your hand. And when the con players who you don't know many times do something crazy and you have to ad-lib it, you're like, that's okay because I know this adventure incredibly well.
Right.
And it's not like running the same adventure for your home team 5 times in a row and they go, Jesus, Brett, I know how this ends. I know where the ghouls are. It's new and fresh for everybody except for you. But you get to see all the coolness that they do. And the more you do it, the more awesome you get to look as you riff and do all this crazy shit. And you've just got that adventure nailed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Though going back to the original piece of saying, okay, I'm going to run, I will probably stick with the deal. Thanks, Todd, for creating that. And I'm more than happy to share some of my reports and runs. No feedback about the game. I mean, I don't have anything to provide to them constructively that would help fix things. It's just my personal own fixing I have to do. But there's the deal. Forget about it.
Yeah.
And then I do have an inkling to run Force 5 from Alderaan. So the theme,
I keep telling you need to do that, man.
Yeah. And I ran it 1 year, but it was like I scheduled it for 4 hours and then realized I didn't schedule it for 4 hours. 4 hours. I scheduled it for 2.
Oh, that's not enough time.
Right. But you could see the theme is Sean's games are with not so nice people. It's not right.
That's true.
You know, Star Wars is fine and dandy if you want to go and watch A New Hope and the Empire and the prequels. You know, but Force 5 of Alderaan, I mean, it's me. I'm taking that after and being inspired by the Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
You know, somebody blew up their planet. Somebody's got to pay.
Yeah.
I want 20 dead Imperial scalps.
Exactly. I want 20 Imperial scalps.
And each one of them is going to be, they're not going to be, well, they could be human, but most of them aren't, right? They're like,
yeah, no. This has got to be pissed off people.
Pissed off foreigners from Alderaan.
I like it. That'd be fun, man.
I did the Aldo Rain speech when I ran it the first time.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
So, but anyways, that was my experience. I know,
excuse me.
There you have it in a nutshell.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think we put that topic aside. We got a little bit of time left here. So one things that Ray Otus was asking us about, and we skipped this a little bit last time, and as I was going through the dealer hall, looking at different books and trying to decide, hey, what do I want? Is there anything here I've got to have, and so forth. I started to see all the different formats, right? You've got stuff in hardcover, softcover, full size, like the 8.5 by 11 style, you know, the big ass book. You've got the digest size. And my Avalon book isn't a digest size when it's printed. I had a number of people say, I really love the digest size games. I love that form factor so much better than the oversized books with a quote unquote regular or whatever. And I was talking to somebody about Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer's Hyperborea, and the original box set that Jeffrey Talanian had was all spiral bound inside of it. And I actually like that because it laid so flat. And that was the thing that people were telling me about digest books, is that they liked the hardcovers because they laid flat better than a paperback. I'm like, okay, interesting. So I was wondering, you know, Sean, as you're going through and you're looking at, do you even think or care about the form factor for the books you buy? You know, when you buy a new book, do you go, oh, it's only in digest size? Oh, it's a big book. Oh, it's not. Because I bought like Sea King's Malice. I wasn't able to back the Kickstarter at the time, but I picked up a copy of Alex Cameron's Adventure, and it's a full size book. Kind of cool. It's got great art and all that stuff. But I wonder, would I have been excited about it if it had been a digest size adventure? I don't know. Does the book itself matter to you? What do you think?
For the record, I do appreciate the 8.5 by 11,
the biggins
file format.
That's very cool
format. I mean, I would go as far to say that is a pretty standard format. And maybe it's not so much standard nowadays, but it was definitely standard from probably the 80s. Well, minus Traveler. Like, Mark, man, what were you thinking, dude?
Mark Miller was like Mark Miller and the original white box, brown box stuff like king of the digest format.
Well, actually, Traveler in the digest format, the original, wasn't bad. It was when it went like sideways.
Oh yeah, that was the weird ass landscape books.
Yeah, and it was cut in half. It was like it would be what 3 3/4 by.
It was an
11?
odd shape. It was a very odd shape.
It was and I have that. It's just so. I think that the 8.5 by 11 is probably what I appreciate. I have other ones. The ones that I kind of get under my skin are the Saga Star Wars edition, which
Saga Star Wars edition.
They're literally, I think they're literally 12 by 12. They're square books.
That's a square. Yeah, that feels weird.
Have you ever seen them, Brett?
I think I have.
Yeah, it's a square book, and they came out with a WotC. I don't know why they went that route. They wanted them to stand out on the shelf. I have no idea. But
interesting.
I mean, I don't mind them now. I kind of, that they are what they are. But like, man,
do you have
what in the hell?
Do you have Do you use your hard copies at the table a lot?
No, unless I have to look up a rule. I usually don't try to open any books while I'm at the table, actually.
I do. I am much the same myself. I mean, so when I'm looking up a rule, I personally tend to like, if it's a rule-based thing, I tend to like the larger format because for some reason it feels like there's more information on a page because it's a bigger page and that it's easier for me to find stuff. Now, that said, I think if I just stop being a wuss and like look through the digest size, it's there.
Sure.
I got a buddy of mine who has a digest size Pathfinder book.
Oh.
Pathfinder Core Rules.
Yeah. And the print is like 0.5 font.
Yeah. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how can you read that? He's like, oh, it's fine for me. I'm like, it's too small.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the book would be like, the size of, I don't know, an unabridged dictionary or something.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But like my Avalon book, I've read it cover to cover in its format, looking for errors and edits and blah, blah, blah. What would I want to do? How would I want to change or whatever? And it reads fine. And I think because that setting book format and the rules that are in it and so on, it works for me. And maybe it took me creating my own thing in that format to be like, I think I could totally groove on this. Because I'll tell you, man, there's something really nice about putting that book in my pack instead of another big ass book. The size for lugging it around, it does take up less table space as well. So
the advantage of the smaller digest size
format,
the format is always going to be smaller, compact, lighter, typically, which I can appreciate because putting a lot of books. I mean, if you take a DMG Monster Manual and Dungeon Master Guide, which I'm not sure why you need the DMG, but those 3 books in a book bag. They're heavy. That's heavy. It's a lot of lugging around. But at the same time, I was talking to somebody about like indie game, not even indie games, but the smaller format games, story-based games, the more narrative games. But some of those aren't rules lighter games, which is another.
Burning Wheel is a digest size game.
Yes, it is, and that thing's a brick.
Yeah, you could kill a man with that thing.
Yeah, well, Burning Wheel is not as bad as Burning Empires.
Well, it's a big goddamn hefty
Burning Empires. I got it mixed up though. Burning Empires is literally a brick.
Well, Burning Wheel is still big.
Yeah.
Still hefty.
But even like Scum and Villainy, Blades in the Dark, the games are very dense. Like if you
they are.
Through,
Blades in the Dark is a dense book, yeah.
It's a lot of dense rules. Which is another thing I think we can argue too sometimes, where I think there was an argument at one point in time where a lot of independently published or solo published games were rules lighter or streamlined or less trad.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you could look at BX, which is older.
It's pretty streamlined.
Oh,
and by the way, Steve Jackson is the world's largest, most successful indie publisher.
Steve Jackson is?
He owns Steve Jackson Games. He's the only guy. He's independent. He's an independent publisher.
But how do you define that though?
There you go. That's where I'm going.
Right.
Anyway, jokes about that aside. That's a different argument.
But he's not the only one that writes for him.
I know. I'm just saying.
Oh, I gotcha.
But he's a publisher. Anyhow,
sure.
Point. What I'm saying, what I'm thinking I'm hearing you say is, this is what's interesting to me is when I look at my Avalon book versus Blades in the Dark, or a setting book or a rules light environment, even Dungeon World, it's not my huge jam, but the hardcover, going through it, it reads pretty quick. You can reference things in it pretty fast. It's nice. But something about and maybe this is just a nostalgia callback for me, but when I want to, like, oh, there's a lot of rules or something's very complicated, I feel like I need the real estate of the larger book where I've got both pages laid out. I can see the combat troop movements here, the critical chart here, or whatever it is, where it's all laid out. Excuse me. And I can see more of it at once. Spells and so forth in D&D for some reason. And monsters, the monster manual, being a full size feels nice to me.
Well, I think
it might be just a raw aesthetics thing.
I think you almost have to, I don't see a lot of monster tomes that aren't large format.
Yeah. Although I think one of the other things that's getting me where I don't mind the digest piece is because I have a lot of PDFs. And PDFs I use on my iPad. I have the 11.5 or 12-inch. I have the regular sized iPad. I don't have the larger one or the mini. I have the old school sized iPad. Yeah. And I look up monsters there. My Pathfinder stuff is on there. I've got other I've got some Trail of Cthulhu stuff. Granted, they use a 3-column fucking layout, which I think is stupid as shit. Which Pelgrane would not do that. Anyway,
I should have told that to Ken Height. I should have brought that up.
Yeah, Ken.
Ken, you're a mover and a shaker at Pelgrane. What
For
in
Christ's
the house
sake.
did you have anything to do with that, or was it all Simon? And can you punch Simon in the nose for doing that?
Yeah, just hold him down and twist his arm till he stops.
Like, if we have him on the show, Ken is not going to get off easy.
We're
Seriously.
have to drill him on that.
Yeah, okay, I understand you're a very reputable game designer, but seriously, man, why 3 columns and some of that crap?
Yeah.
Help me understand how that's even a better user experience.
It's not. But for those games that, anyway, I think because I'm reading stuff in a PDF format on a smaller screen, I'm getting used to that size. And my digest book is not much smaller than my iPad, generally speaking. And as long as the font is decent and is laid out properly, I can get to the stuff I need. And I think my fear of, oh my God, it's such dense rules, it'll be hard to find anything, that comes down to layout and organization. If the book is well organized, it shouldn't be that bad. However, I must say, if I have to constantly reference the book, which is something you and I are both just saying now that we don't necessarily like to do, I'd prefer it to lay flat very easily. And a big brick like Burning Empires or something isn't going to lay flat very easy. And I'd almost rather go, like a buddy of mine did with the Osric book, when he got it printed from Lulu, he went spiral bound.
Yeah, that buddy would be me.
Oh, you did too?
I did too, yeah.
All right. It's a good way. That book lays nice and flat that way. It's a good call.
But I got the small one, which is not, I would not advise.
No.
The big one, spiral bound. I think, can you get a big one, spiral bound? I got the
I don't know if
small
you can
one.
or can't.
Yeah, I got the
don't
digest. But I'm very interested to see what games like Dungeon World, Blades in the Dark, Scum and Villainy, some of those that are pretty thick digest size books.
Mm-hmm.
What they would look like in a full size 8.5 by 11. Now I know the format would have to be tweaked majorly, but I wonder if they could literally break things down in certain chunks better. Like I wouldn't even say better organized necessarily.
Well, better presentation. Like, hey, all of this stuff is on page 222.
Right.
All of this is on page 115.
Yeah. You haven't even seen the Veil. Like, the Veil is a Powered by the Apocalypse where it's very elongated.
Huh.
But not as wide. Mr. Fraser did that one, and but the layout is very clean because there's very big margins. So it's a very good presentation, but it's just a different, again, layout.
Because the digest size reminds me of trade paperbacks. When I used to sell books in college, I have trade paperbacks on a bookshelf behind me. Those are larger paperback books, which are more info on a page, so on and so forth. Yeah, I don't know. I almost wonder if your standby of it depends matters in some of these cases, where if it's a real, like Pathfinder in a digest size, it's like 0.05 font. It's get your quadfocals out so you can read that fucking thing.
Well, they're not changing anything. I think literally for that, what they did with theirs was they literally just they just took a PDF and shrunk it, and you can't do that.
No, that's just lazy.
Yeah, and it's now at the same time, I wonder what the cost involved is, because I'm sure there is a cost thing that plays a huge role in this stuff. I mean, obviously, but
do you write in your books?
There's a post one of the guys put up on the forums about doing all the taboo things we talked about, and it was a lot of it was taking notes in his books and highlighting things. And
I did that in one book I have. It was kind of crazy. I felt really naughty writing in a book because when I was a kid, I did not have a lot of money. Not that I have a lot of money now, but I could buy a paperback now and not feel like it was like all my savings, right? Right. You know, like, hey, I finally got this $15 AD&D book. I'll be goddamned if I write on it or in it. I was just terrified because I didn't want to damage it, you know?
I wouldn't mind getting a copy that I would just do that and mark it up. Like, I got 2 copies, one that's nice and one that's just, because I think there is a certain aesthetic about it, because you could look at it, like you could present it to people and kind of make it look like it's
notes.
Yeah, notes, and it's your own, and it's more of a laboratory, like a kind of a lab notebook more than anything.
Yeah. Does the format, would that matter to you? Like, would you rather write in would you rather write in a full size or a digest? Is there a format?
Oh, that's a good
that you would prefer? The reason I'm asked, so I grabbed Scenic Dunsmith, which is a Lamentation of Flame Princess adventure I bought a while back, and I ran it as a campaign for my home group for a portion of it. And I wrote in it because I changed names in places. I used pencil or pen in places and crossed things out and changed names. It was the first time I did it. That's a smaller quasi-digesty size book. I found that worked okay. But the other thing I find, honestly, is that book, the paper in that book, that digest size book, lent itself quite well to writing in. Some of the full-size books have that sexy super gloss paper, which I can't fucking stand. If you need reading glasses like this old man, it's a pain in the ass. But the glossy paper is difficult to write on. You have to find a specific pen. I found that, like, I don't write in my books, generally speaking, but talking to other people who do, they have said that they had a pen that they really like to use for doing this.
Sure.
They wrote, it didn't dry. They closed the book, it just smeared everywhere because the gloss, you know, it doesn't have it's not porous,
right?
Like some of the other stuff. So
that's a good point.
I think some of the digest books tend to have almost more of an old school paper feel to them. And they almost, that lends itself more for me to write in than a big glossy page, which I think I would need an old school ballpoint pen to write it. Cause I don't even know if a pencil on some of those pages would even work very well.
No, not as much. It's like signing one of those waxy receipts with a pencil or even a pen. They're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So to answer whether the size matters, whether I would mark them up depends on the format or the layout of the inside information, because some layout doesn't give you a lot of margin. So
okay, that's a good point too. Sometimes it's pretty close to the edges.
Yeah. So that's one thing. But if it did and it was equal across digest size versus large 8.5 by 11, then no. The glossy paper I'd have to take a look at, but I would also be more apt to mark up a book, probably an adventure. So Tomb of Annihilation, if I were to run it Eberron, I would probably make more notes in it, the actual physical book. Like, hey, just remember, change these locations, change these terms, have probably
That's what
a
I did
glossary. Yeah. So, but I probably wouldn't do it in my player's handbook. And then frankly, I don't know if I would need to, honestly. Adventures I could totally see, right? I mean,
see, with a D&D player's handbook, it's a toolkit, right? So I can say, oh, it's D&D. I use this for Forgotten Realms. I use this for Eberron. I use this for Avalon. I use this for whatever on. And I need all the data in it. There's nothing to cross out or modify because this player's handbook is used in all these different settings. Where if I had a book, like if I were to run Scum and Villainy or something that a Star Wars thing, and you were to say this book is only for Star Wars, and I'm modifying this because I don't like this history or I want to change this. Even in the core book, I could see that because my version of the Star Wars canon doesn't use this; it uses this other person.
But you're still talking about setting.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's setting specific to the rules then too. Like if it was a rule book that was specific to a setting.
Yeah.
And I think setting books probably like Avalon and Adventures may well lend themselves better to writing in. And like I say, I've only done it once now, and it was a digest size book, and it worked pretty well for me. But I think part of it was the style of paper made it really easy I could write in pencil, erase it, rewrite on top of it. And I think the permanent nature of having to write on some of those uber glossy newer books, it does not lend itself well to be written on.
No, I agree. And that's the last thing I want is like smeared ink everywhere.
Yeah, that's as bad as like spilling wine all over.
If somebody knows the type of pen that actually works on that glossy paper, let us know. I don't know if that's Sharpie based. I have to imagine, but it's hard to. I mean, I know you can find fine point Sharpie markers.
Yes, you can. Yep.
And I have to think those are probably one of the better, but I could be wrong. So let me know.
Yeah, just like it's one of those things where if I want to make a quick note in the adventure as it's going on, I don't want it to just
yeah,
drying it off before
open.
I can flip the for half an hour before it dries off.
Right.
So I think, Sean, with a book size perspective, I like them all, honestly. The wackier the format, like a square, like you said, seems odd to me.
Yeah.
Digest versus full size seems legit. I don't mind. I prefer books that can lay flat easy at the table.
Yeah.
And even for reading, if I'm reading them on a table. If it has some of the soft cover books, depending how thick they are, do not lay flat very well, which can be kind of a pain. I'm one of those guys who hates to like crack the binding and smash the fucker down flat, just so it sits flat. I feel like I'm wrecking part of my investment.
Yeah, you're cracking the glue and
and the damn thing's gonna fall apart like my original first edition vampire book did. And
right.
So yeah, I think some of it depends. And I honestly am drawn from like new books perspective more to the layout presentation. Like if I see a presentation, I go, wow, this is really cool in this format. That looks neat. If Avalon were to have been in a full-size book, I think it'd been okay.
Right.
But I think the book, the detail and everything we have in it, it fits just fine in that digest size. And because it does, and it's a setting book and with adventure ideas and stuff in it, I think it works perfectly well for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I pretty much the same thoughts.
And I do wish Drive-Thru RPG for their print on demand would do spiral bound. Because I think that would be one that if I were to buy one and say, hey, I'm going to keep this one, like you said, Sean, one to write in, or like a play copy almost, a spiral bound at the table just lays so flat.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ray, we probably didn't hit all the pieces and parts there, man. But if you got another point of that you want us to yammer on about, or you've got a point, or anybody else does, let us know.
Thanks for the question, Ray.
Yeah, let's move it on, brother.
Let's go into die roll. All right, die roll. 2 to 4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery we want to bring to you. First one from Tony Sugarloaf Baker. The Outer Worlds credits pays tribute to developer slain D&D characters. This is an article on Polygon. So the Outer Worlds, I'm a little ignorant to it, but I believe it's a major video game. There's credits in it that pays tributes to the developer who is running D&D while he was involved in developing the game, amongst others.
That's awesome.
And put the dead characters in there as credits. So that,
a little Easter eggy type thing. That's cool.
Thanks, Tony, for that. Second one, the best new board games from the world's biggest board game show, a.k.a. Essen. Brett, trivia question for you.
Yes.
Did I ask you if you knew how many people go to Essen?
You did, and I guessed so woefully low.
Yes.
I was shocked when you said the actual number.
Yeah.
I said 100,000.
Yeah.
And you said?
2019, I think it was over 200,000 people.
And I thought 100,000. I thought I'm shooting for the stars. Nobody. When we both were talking to Ken Haidt, and we were talking about size, and he said, I would never go to Essen as a civilian. I'd only go if I was paid to work the show.
Yeah.
He said, being pressed to death by sweaty nerds, that's not how I want to go out.
Yeah. So Tim Verning, you know Tim, he's pretty heavy into the board games.
Oh, super nice guy, too.
And so he posted that up on Twitter and snaked it from him. Yeah, that's on Ars Technica. Go ahead and take a look at that if you're looking at what's really capturing the majority of 200,000 people over at the Essen Spiel convention. Third one, Hermetic Gamer, or as I know him as Professor Chris. He's a local guy. I've known Chris for 15 years now. He teaches at the local Madison College here. But when I first met him, I asked him what his dissertation was on. And I think it's titled Encounters at the Imaginal Crossroads. And it has to do with women in gaming. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but it was brought up in a conversation when we met at Gamehole Con. A couple other folks brought it up. And he wanted to put it out there in case somebody wanted to look at it. So he put it up on our forums. I have a link in the show notes. He's surprised at how many people actually have downloaded over the years. But yeah, if you're interested in taking a look at that, imagine doing your dissertation on something on gaming. Some of us have been lucky to do that. So,
Jesus, wow.
Yeah. My horse is getting voice again.
Well, again,
Old School Essentials. We'll put a link in the show notes from that. That's what Kojo's son was referencing earlier in the show. And then the last one, I just want to give a shout out to our buddy Mark Hunt, who lives in Iowa. We've met Mark. We're big fans of his on Google Plus, and we've ran into him at GaryCon. He's finally put out Gangbusters, the BX version, out on drive-through. He is just a big fan of Gangbusters. And now he's put that out there. I've played with Mark at GaryCon and the Gangbusters game. I don't remember exactly what the rule set was at that time. I don't know if he was actually running an older rule set or the original, but he's done the BX version. So if you're
everybody I know who's played with Mark Hunt loves it. Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah, and the super nice guy, like just phenomenally nice guy. So if you get a chance to play with Mark, he doesn't go to a lot of conventions, but
if you get a chance, go out the drive-thru. Put a link, check it out. If you're a Gangbusters fan, if that's something you're interested in at all, take a look. It's good stuff.
It's at number 4 for best-selling titles, and I think he probably dropped it, I want to say, in the last week. Like it hasn't even been out there that long. So congratulations,
that's
Mark,
awesome.
on your. I know that's been a long time coming for you, buddy, so I'm glad that's out there.
Yes.
Well, I think that's it for this show. Brett, what are we talking about next week?
Well, man, I want to keep on a theme here. Sean, you and I have been wanting to talk about kind of what's next in gaming, right? So what do I want to see? What am I looking for in the next big thing? What's the thing that we're not seeing in games that we want to see? That's what I'm thinking about. Or I'll change my mind at the last minute. I'll make Sean talk about cats or something. I don't know.
Meow.
We'll figure it out.
Meow, meow. All right. Well, thanks for everybody that showed up to Gamehole Con, and for those that didn't, we hope you can make it some other time. And if you can't, thanks for listening to the show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good game, all.
This episode of Gaming in BS brought to you with the help from the following BSers. Graham Miner, Hawk Sparrow, Corey Wynn, Larry Hout, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, Chris Steele, Ron Bishop, Thomas Hook, Wayne Humfleet, Craig, Brandon Barnes, Laramie Wall, Dan LaValle, Jason Hobbs, Sky, John Hammersley, Old School DM, Perry Besor, Michael Dinos, Jim Fitzpatrick, Christopher Gray, Bruce Cunnington, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Eileen Barnes, Robert Nemeth, Niall Diamond, Howard Bishop, Stefan Dragonspawn, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Salzweedle, Trevor Davis, The Closet Gamer, Jeff Goad, Aaron Coleman, Ray Otus, CW Mellencamp, Craig Huber, Rich Wishon, Old Scouser Roleplaying, Jared Rasher, Andy Hall, David Baylog, Harrigan, Melissa Bashinsky, Brian Rumble, Henry Newcomb, Eric Talvola, Husk Carl, Roger Braslett, Chad Gleeman, Finolf, Josh Wallace, Merkel Froelich, Joe Swick, Curtis Takahashi, Kevin Lovecraft, Andy Olson, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Jeff Seifert, and Aaron Ralia. For ways to support the show, head over to gamingnbs.com/support-us. Thanks, BSers.
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.